30 years down the road, we are supposed to be better in terms of human development. So why is it that the quality is worse and disappointing? What has gone wrong? And I'm sure people have watched. If you look at the debate in the Constituent Assembly, if we brought to the Constituent Assembly men and women today and pressed them back to Parliament, this country would skyrocket. The first world nation, I have no doubt. I remember the words of Honorable Apakabro, the late, when he was in Kenya sharing about the experience of the 1995 constitution making process. He stated that unless Ugandans disrupt themselves, but with this constitution, Uganda should be a first world nation after 20 years. We are now celebrating or commemorating 30 years. Are we a first world nation? So how come that the vision and hopes of the likes of the late Wapakabro can't be realized? How can we as a people, our illiteracy rates have gone, we are almost at 80%, very educated, very many people, we are healthy, living longer. Why is it that we have a lower and a more degenerating quality of leadership as compared to where we were at 30 years? How can we develop in reverse in terms of leadership? What is it? What is the problem? Why is it that we have a quality of members of parliament that have no capacity to protect the constitution? And yet their key function is protecting the constitution. But do they have the capacity? How many MPs can you ask to cite 5 articles of the constitution or even know where to find them? Because the best person, it's not cramming the law. At least do they know where to find it? How many? I don't think they go beyond 50. So why is it that we produce this quality of leadership? The third missing gap is the people. Article 4 of the Constitution provided that the Constitution be translated and taught to citizens in their local languages. I know that there was a first translation of the Constitution. I've landed on a copy in Ateso. I haven't got to the Runyankore version, which is my language. Few copies were made. Translations in 8 key languages were made. But has anybody of us ever seen the distribution of these copies to our communities? Has there been any effort 30 years down the road to sensitize the people? How can the people whose duty is to protect the Constitution protect what they don't know? That's impossible. So that's the third missing link on why the Constitution has not served its purpose. So when you go to the journey we've walked, of course there are a few achievements. You have a framework. I think the Constitution works only where the powers deem it to work. Let's look at the simple aspects of fundamental rights and freedoms. Article 23. When you go to arrest a person, introduce yourself, inform the person of the crime they are suspected of committing, tell their next of kin where they are going to be detained, allow access of family, doctors, lawyers, produce them in court within 48 hours. It's the most abused provision in this country, to the extent that we have abductions, we have enforced disappearances, we have people we cannot account for, and we detain people beyond the mandatory hours, mandatory days. You have the case of Besigye abducted from Kenya. 30 years down the road, you abduct your senior leaders across border. Besigye left Uganda a few hours because he didn't spend even in Nairobi 2 hours. He was in his home. Everybody knows where he stays. He reaches Kenya. He's abducted, goes missing, incommunicado for 2 days. Then news start coming from Kenya. Why is it that we cannot respect simple basics of the Constitution. When you go to the question, and it's good we have the principal legal advice of government, there is a troubling case in the IG's office, anti-corruption court, and regarding a register of land titles. Interdicted by the IG, he takes plea in a criminal case. The standing orders are very clear, public service standing orders. Once you're charged in court, you are automatically interdicted until your court is done with your case. A directive comes from the president. Why did you remove a register of titles? Reinstate. Then you have a permanent secretary reinstating a register of titles. Who has taken a stand in a criminal case in anti-corruption court, interdicted by IG? He's now in office. So are we implementing the Constitution and the laws of Uganda? We are not.
Honorable Wandera, when you hear, especially having been part of the Constitution, the formation of this Constitution, but also hearing the young people that spoke to us, in bliss of what is happening with this Constitution, if you went back in hindsight with what you know now, what would you do different?
You see, the question of the Constitution, you can't be just theoretical about it. Even if I went back to the Constituent Assembly and passed different provisions, assume I did so. Assume I said we made a mistake here, we should have done it this way. The paramount question which will remain will be, will those who come to implement the Constitution implement it in the way those who made the Constitution envisaged that it will be implemented? Yes, you can have the Constitution, and we do have a Constitution. But without constitutionalism, even if I went back and did the matters differently, if there is no culture of constitutionalism, of the people who implement the Constitution sticking to the spirit and letter of the Constitution, it will still not serve any purpose, even if what you changed. If you look at implementation, and I'm glad the doctor raised this issue of the people defending the Constitution. And I wanted to add to that, to show why even doing it differently may not be the answer. If you look at the schedule in the Constitution, it provides for oath, which different people must swear before they assume office. This is the president, the vice president, the speaker, cabinet ministers, deputy speaker, members of parliament. That is essentially the two arms of government, the executive and the legislature. So what do they swear to do before they sit in the office? The wording is provided in the Constitution. And it says, I will protect, uphold, preserve, defend the Constitution. These are two arms of government. The holders are saying they are going to protect, they are going to defend, they are going to uphold the Constitution. We all know that the courts, the judiciary, are the custodians of the Constitution. So at the end of the day, you are having all the three arms of government given given the duty to make the constitution work. Because you asked earlier on in the paper, what are the strengths of this constitution? The strengths come from the people. The constitution is as good as the people who are implementing it. So, if the president, vice president, members of parliament, speaker, the judiciary, if they do what the constitution says they should do, protect, support, uphold, it would mean one thing, that we will not be having the contraventions which the doctor is talking about, which Ssemujju Nganda is talking about. They will not all be there, because all these officers would be protecting and upholding the constitution. The doctor here is talking about abductions, disappearances, and the Bill of Rights prohibits all that.
Why isn't it working?
It is, in my view,
because you mentioned it clearly and said the president, the vice president, all these in their pronouncement, they are speaking about defending the constitution. Every 5 years, Ugandans go to the ballot, but it almost seems like Ugandans are powerless, that the document that's supposed to empower them does not empower them. Where are we failing?
I think part of the problem would be weaknesses in character, human weaknesses, and so on. Because if we came here and we said, Timothy, your work is to have us have contributions about this debate, and you sit there and we sit here, but instead of moderating us, you open a bottle of beer and start drinking it. It would be a weakness on your part. You know what you are supposed to do, but you choose not to do it. So to answer your question, I think that there is also non-committal to the spirit of the Constitution. And here the Attorney General raised a point about changing the Constitution in answer to Ssemujju, about changing the Constitution, like removing the term limit. It is true, the Constitution provides for how it can be changed, and that is normal. But also we cannot lose the sight of Ssemujju's point about the history. Because when you are going to change and remove these either term or age limits, yes, Parliament can do so, but you must question yourself, are you doing it for the people of Uganda, or are you doing it for an individual? If you amend the Constitution for an individual, that is already a problem. Because an amendment should be able to answer something for all of us. But now, the two-term limit which Ssemujju is insisting on is the history. I served in a committee too, which dealt with the chapters on executive, legislature, and the judiciary. And the two-term limit was a result of our history, that we had never had a peaceful transfer of power. Now, we passed it in 1995. Before the end of 2005, before even the 10 years which a president is supposed to serve, we are already changing it. So, yes, you can amend, the law allows it, but what are the reasons behind? That's what will determine whether you are respecting the spirit of the Constitution or not.
You spoke about the culture. The document is available of the Constitution, and you spoke about constitutionalism. Where did we lose it, especially in achieving that culture of constitutionalism? But also I would like to add something that you have said about the 5 years. Professor Uluka said 10 years are sufficient. After 10 years, it begins to become diminishing returns. 15 years, the leader becomes a liability to the country. What do you make of this assertion?
At the time, we debated it in committee too. Really what informed us was the history. And I'll come to Professor Oloka's assessment. The history that since independence, we have always changed our leaders through violence. Now, whenever you do so, people die. Properties are destroyed. You take people back. People start afresh. There is a lot of suffering. So, the two-term limit was supposed to be something which would help us out of that problem. I think to answer your question, where did we lose it? Personally, I believe that if we had stuck to the two-term limit, 2006, President Museveni would have handed over to the BCJ generation. 2016, the BCJ generation would have handed over to the Mao generation. The Mao generation would now be preparing to hand over to the Kiwanuka Kiryowa generation.
The Mao generation.
No, you are not.
So that would allow growth of constitutionalism and growth and bring new ideas into the political arena.
Thank you. Let me come to Honorable Ssemujju. Honorable Ssemujju, you were very vehement when you spoke about the military, and especially their representation. Listening posts, those are some of the things they said, that after 10 years, after getting stability, they'll be able to transition them. In Tanzania, we saw it happen. Where do we find the balance between civilian rule and the military rule? Because these continue to represent the military there, regardless of the other security agencies.
I think in the CA, that's where you had, I think, Kano SJ and now General Tinyefuza and I think Serwanga Rwanga, when they are debating the issue of multi-party. The president never wanted military people to be engaged in the debate. He actually wrote, I still have that document, because in CA you had an opposition caucus, but you also had a movement caucus, and I guess the Honorable Wandera Ogalo was part of the movement caucus.
Correct.
So the president wrote, and he said when we, for example, go for multi-party democracy, you can't have the army in parliament, because the army, that parliament will be a partisan parliament. I still have that document. The same president insisted that the army should continue being in parliament, and they are still there. He had said because of the contribution made by, at that time controversial, by Tinyefuza and BSJ, that after all your duty is to watch and observe. That's when the word listening post came into being, that the military people are supposed to be listening post. During the removal of term limit, Colonel Fred Wogere chose to abstain. He didn't vote for removal. And Museveni summoned him in Mbari, where he had camped. I think he went with Aronda. Said, you Wogere, they have told me you have become a very big politician in Kampala. You are the one. Said, why didn't you vote for with your colleagues? He said, but we never took a decision as an army, so, and I took your guidance that when you go there, we become listening post. And Wogere was on Katebe until when he retired. So the military is still there. We are only a bit lucky that those 10 seats,
Which side do they sit?
I think Kadaga, when we were arguing, the Honorable Kadaga said they can choose where they want to sit. So they somehow sit in the middle, but they vote with NRM. They are like any other NRM MP. So Kanobogere does not vote and is reprimanded. So the rest of the military people who are there are supposed, they are in parliament to boost the NRM numbers. Even the way they are selected, because the Army Council is the one that elects military, but in the past, I think now they are directed, but they to be chieftains, CMY, personnel. They would be the ones to generate a list of candidates. So you don't volunteer, so you don't ask to be a candidate. So they write a list, take it to Mr. Museveni, Commander-in-Chief. He removes some. He says, this one remove. Then he brings the list before the Army Council. He says, this one is historical, this one is this. So by the time he ends his speech, he has already selected the 7. So they vote for only 3. The 7 are directly elected by Museveni. This one is just a ceremony. And even to remove them. So the military is still there. I remember when J.J. Odongo was appointed Minister of State for Environment, Parliament said a serving military officer cannot be appointed a minister because this is a partisan role. And J.J. Odongo did not assume that office until he resigned. Later on, Mr. Museveni appointed Aronda. Parliament said, but he also supposed to resign like a JJ. He said, no, he will not resign. Onwards, military people are serving as ministers. They don't have to resign from Katumba Wamala to Aronda to everybody else. That's why I said when you asked me at the beginning of this debate, and you wanted me to talk about the 1995 Constitution and ask, is it still there? Maybe in a name. The other day, MPs summoned the CDF, who also happens to be Museveni's son. Says those crowns, how can you summon me? Maybe you will come crawling, I will even come and arrest you. And the speaker was very quick to say, why were you summoning him? This is an office, can't the deputy come? But we have had CDFs, Katumba Wamala, Aronda and everybody appearing for accountability before Parliament. When he was speaking, celebrating the 30 years, he said accountability. Who accounts to who? If you have a CDF whose budget and salary is determined by Parliament, but he says you MPs, I can come and arrest you. He even had a demonstration. Today, you have a CDF who runs a political party. When Lieutenant General now, Henry Tumukunde, went on CBS and Radio 1, and he said, please don't remove the term limit. For 4 years, he was under house arrest at the officers' mess in Kololo, spreading harmful propaganda. He spoke, he says, no removal of term limits. Now you have a CDF who says, we are going into these elections. You will see us Bahima. And he tweets. And we are seeing them. The other day I saw Bobo Wine. He spent the biggest part of the day pushing vehicles because they can't allow him to drive on the main road. So really the Constitution was overthrown. A few provisions that have remained are for purposes of facilitating the military dictatorship and family. If they want to arrest you, they will now read for you a particular provision that serves them, but the rest are not there. We can pretend about it. We are under full-blown military dictatorship. That's why I sympathize with the professionals who are advising government. I don't think Kiwanuka Kiryowa, you are the one who advised government to invade Parliament and beat everybody. But we are beaten. You see, the speaker read a list of MPs.
I'm not a very big fan of indiscipline.
The speaker read a list of MPs she suspended. He says, you were in this, I have suspended you. I was never read, but I was the first to be removed and beaten. I nearly died. Even when they took me to Nagarama, the first thing they did was take me to St. Agnes. There is a clinic there. Those fellows, SFC had nearly killed me. We recently we were considering the amendment to the Coffee Act. And again, SFC came. You journalists were arrested, detained in the conference hall of Parliament. They switched off lights, started picking SFC again. So if that is not a military dictatorship, what is it? In fact, we shouldn't be celebrating 30 years of the Constitution. We should be discussing 40 years of military dictatorship.
Let me come back to
because this Constitution that may be in a classroom, this should be a classroom debate. The debate of Uganda should be 40 years of military rule, where if you don't have a gun, and now it's no longer even military but family, because even military people are also under pressure. I saw, and I keep teasing Erweru. Erweru was a deputy CDF, but Moses Kainerugaba said, you buffoon, this year I will deal with you. He said, my priorities for this year to deal with this buffoon. And the buffoon has since then been chased from the military. So even to stay in the military itself now, you can only stay either if the son or the father wants to stay. Even the military is under pressure. So it is no longer even a military. It is a family military dictatorship. That's what we should be discussing. But to bring here Kiwanuka as if he's giving a lecture to law students is just pretense. The Constitution is no longer there. Finished 100%.
Let me come to the AG.
This one, who was a chairman for organizing parties of a military serving officer, blocking roads. He now has a political party. Recently, I saw them. He was in Karangala. The principal legal advisor of government was in Karangala with members of PLOU. An illegal military outfit turned the political party with a legal principal advisor. He was the one organizing parties for this illegal group. Yeah, we have abused this country to the maximum.
Honorable Ssemujju, every time I listen to you, you are the epitome of infatuation. You know, you are either a grave admirer of President Museveni and his family, or you are simply besotted, for lack of a better word, because you are really absolutely infatuated. I think when you go to sleep, the only thing you think about is the President Museveni, the family, the wife.
I actually,
but the point you're making,
I am bothered by family rule.
The point you make,
which you are serving.
The point you fail to make, the point you fail to make, or to in this whole run around of yours, is the problem has nothing to do with the Constitution.
The problem, I didn't even wait for you to say now it is your turn.
No, you told me.
Honorable, the Honorable AG,
you didn't wait.
Because you are really interested, because you are this infatuation is something, you know, it is bordering on
What is the difference between you? For you, they have turned, instead of being a principal legal advisor, you are chairman of their parties.
Yes,
that's the big
so where's the problem?
You should be advising a serving military officer not to have a political party.
No, but he doesn't have a political party that I know of, because I believe that Honorable Ssemujju Nganda, having been in Parliament for so long, would have actually at least learned how a political party is set up. So at least I would have thought that you'd figure that out. But that notwithstanding.
Honorable Kiryowa Kiwanuka, the question of governance was one of the things that was in our preamble, especially in the instability and the politics. He addresses the military. Do we still need the military in Parliament? Because one of the things that I remember, especially when Honorable Wandera was there, is that there was an agreement that after 10 years they would leave if the stability is there. Are we still in instability that we still need the army in Parliament per the Constitution?
But that agreement is not in the Constitution. So if there was an agreement, are you saying there are some things we agreed on which we did not put in the Constitution?
So did the Tanzanians. It wasn't in the Constitution.
Yeah, but that is why they put the provision on amendment. So when you determine that you no longer need it, that's how you do it. But you can't tell me that we had an agreement, because first of all, I wasn't there. So what we get is what we read and what we see as the agreement. So what is in the agreement is in the four corners of that constitution. So don't tell me about agreements that were made on the side which were not put in the constitution, because my job is not to advise on how the law should be, but how it is.
Okay.
You see, the constitution, now like talking about the constitution, says the military must be subordinate to civilian role. So did you advise Mohoz to come and appear before the civilian?
Did you?
When he said, I will come and arrest you clowns.
No, well, I don't know whether he called you clowns, but if he did, I do not know what empirical data he used to arrive at that conclusion. Maybe my research may come to a different conclusion. But our fellow panelists here has been talking about...
You will go in around.
No.
The issue is, the Constitution says they should be subordinate to civilian role.
Yes, and they are subordinate to civilian role.
The civilian is someone, your friend, and he says, I will not come, and he didn't come.
Yes, and you, the member of parliament, what did you do about it? Because you have the power.
We apologized.
You see?
Yeah.
So you actually exercised your mandate in the constitution by apologizing.
Really? To
Which
what?
is, that's what I don't know what they were apologizing to, but they exercised their mandate because the constitution gave them, and that takes me to what I think Sarah was talking about. You know, when we sit here and say the quality of members of parliament is wanting, present yourself. You know, you see, the people choose the people who present themselves to them. So you cannot tell the people that they should come look for this quality that we talk about, which is outside parliament, when it is not presenting itself. You know? So I think what we can sit here in our elitist way and say, parliament has failed us, parliament has failed us.
Kiryowa is a bad man.
No, wait.
You see,
no, let me finish.
At the beginning of this country, for which you are celebrating 63 years, I spoke to Abu Mayanja.
Let me finish.
Abu Mayanja told me he even went to India to persuade Bidandisari to return. At that time, you had a group of elite like yourself persuading others to come and run a country. You are now blaming everybody. That anyone who can, as long as they present.
Honorable Ssemujju, please allow the Attorney General to complete his submission.
You know, Honorable Ssemujju, anyway, let me get back to my point. So the issue of leadership is again us, the people. The people must choose from the people that are made available to them. So if the people are there, that you say, I am qualified, the people in parliament are not qualified, present yourself and make yourself available for the people to choose. Okay. But we cannot say that we don't have good leadership, but we are not participating in it. That is a contradiction. Let us make ourselves available. But also, Dr. Bireete, when you come and give the public half-complete answers that when they interdicted someone, the president wrote and said, rethink. But you don't tell them what the law is. Are you saying the president broke the law?
Yes.
No, because Article 172 of the Constitution says that the person who is appointed by the president is disciplined by the president.
A register of titles
that is
appointed by the president.
That is the law. Any person, maybe you have the Constitution. I saw.
I have it.
So you read Article 172 1B. It is there. So let us not read
someone before a court.
Let us not read.
I will respond.
Let us not read the law as we want it to be. Let us tell the people, this is the law. The law has been followed, but maybe we need to rethink what this law is saying.
Okay.
That is how leadership works. So if you cannot say that this law is the members of parliament, the army officers just vote to add numbers to NRM. But what is the law? Does the law allow them to vote that way? Actually, I'll give you a story of one of your colleague MPs. One time was sleeping in parliament. When he woke up to vote, he woke up and started voting yes. So they asked him, why are you voting yes? He said, I don't think all those many people in parliament could be wrong. So it is that you're saying that if we want to talk about constitutionalism, we need to start discussing these things maturely.
Okay.
You know, maturely, and say, I think this clause needs to be revisited, and that's where Honorable Ogalo came in and said, or removed. That's where Honorable Ogalo came in and said that this constitutionalism, what you're saying, why are you doing this? What is the reason that is driving you to do this?
Life presidency.
Even if the people of Uganda want life presidency, they are at liberty to do that.
And I'm going to ask that I read some feedback.
But I want to quickly, please, first respond to the Attorney General, because this is the principal legal advisor of government. So first of all is the issue of the Register of Titles, who, by the way, was investigated.
Commissioner Land Registration, let's be clear.
Who was investigated over 25 crimes, suspected crimes.
Or the registrar?
The one he has mentioned, called the,
Commissioner Land Registration.
I have his name somewhere. Yes, over 25 crimes of fraud in the Land Commission, Minister of Lands. Then he is interdicted by the IG. I wish I had come with some of the paper evidence from the Anti-Corruption Court. He is interdicted by the IG. There were several exchanges that I will not refer to. Then finally charged in court. He takes plea in a criminal case. Standing orders are clear. Yes, here the law says the person, the Public Service Commission, the Education Service Commission, they may appoint persons on behalf of the president. To argue that it's only the president to discipline people, are you saying that the IG, the Inspectorate of Government, the DPP, cannot charge people who are heads of department in public service and above?
No, you see,
the president to discipline them, that they cannot face criminal proceedings.
Interdiction is not a punishment. And by the way, for your information, there is no provision in our public service standing orders which says that a person who is interdicted must leave office, rather who is charged must leave office. Because then that is against the Constitution, because the presumption of innocence, even if a person is charged, he is presumed innocent until found guilty.
Now you can see the problems
let me read some feedback.
Okay, I will respond to the other. You can see the challenges of constitutionalism.
Let me read some feedback so that
but if you are not presumed guilty, innocent, what would have happened?
No, you will step aside. You will come back to your
Doctor and Eji,
it is very clear.
Let me come back to you. He says, I'm not happy with the Ugandan leadership today, and I wish Idi Amin was still alive. I'm sure this nonsense wouldn't be there. Okay. Dr. Sarah, let's come back here. Good evening. This is Marvin from Mulago. I'm sorry to say there is no existing constitution running our country because money is the governing factor in this country, in our lovely land. Clearly, it's shown in the activities within the country and the public service. And let's not pretend as senior citizens that our country is looking good. It is terrible. Okay. This is Abraham from Muyenga. He says, why can't Honorable Ssemujju resign since there is no constitutionalism? If there is pure dictatorship, why is he continuing to earn a huge salary as an MP in a dictatorship? Honorable Ssemujju should stop lamenting and let him tell us how the bills. Okay. Someone else says the constitution was good only until amendments came in, and these amendments favor personal interests and moving forward. Timothy, thank you for the show. My name is Herbert Oluka, watching from Kampala. The problem with what the Attorney General is saying is that the movement is trending and the Ugandan constitution is like the table in the living room. You cannot shift it, you want to pass it. And whatever time you want to move, there is no removal of anything that is guarded. The constitution will remain as it is to the benefit of some people. Tomorrow they will change it. Today it will say that the president is free to hand over power to whoever he hands over power. Why? Please ask the Attorney General, why are they treating the constitution like a stool in a living room where you remove it as long as it blocks your passage? Okay. Finally, the constitutionalism has gone backwards. For example, the constitution, the state, the workers paid equal work done. The current government is doing us public injustice, paying scientists different from this social scientists, yet the same work is being done. I'm still puzzled by what the Attorney General is saying. This is Richard from Fort Portal. Honorable Attorney General, I think the question I want to leave with you as we take a break is on why the Constitution is applied selectively and why some of these amendments look like political amendments.